this is not a diss at all, but having done the Hall & Oates show for 50 years, I was sleepwalking. And so I said, hey, we should make a demo. He goes, yeah, let's do it right now. And I said, what do you mean? He said, oh, we'll use Suno. And I'm like, what's that? So on the first 2 Hall & Oates albums, I'm playing Mississippi John Hurt's Guild F30. Woke up in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. Even though my brain was scrambled, I thought, maybe it's time to focus on strumming my banjo there, John. Yeah, if we just keep running, hear the words come flying by, I can't hear a thing you're saying. I know every one of you got something going on. It might be mental, physical, spiritual. Oh, got something that you gotta overcome. No matter where you are or where you're coming from, oh yeah. When the road gets rough and you had enough, never give up, never give. Said, hey there, brother, can you lend a hand? Feel like I'm hurting, can you understand? Don't wanna beg, cause it kills my pride. I'm playing I get out of here alive. My life's unlucky, gone from bad to good. Made some mistakes, I've been misunderstood. Been up and down, trying to turn it around, just to get back on solid ground. Keep on pushing, pushing a rock uphill. When it rolls back down, just roll with it, roll with it, roll with it, roll with it. Keep on pushing, pushing, pushing a rock. Never give up when it rolls back down. Roll with it, roll with it, roll with it, roll with it, yeah. Keep your head held high, keep trying and trying. Keep your eyes on the prize, hope on the horizon. Got a hole in your pocket, but you keep on searching for a heart of gold. When the road gets rough and you had enough, when life hits you hard, but you keep standing tough, lend a hand, try to help a brother. Reach out to each other, keep on pushing, yeah, pushing a rock uphill. Roll with it, roll with it, roll with it, roll with it, yeah. Keep on pushing, pushing a rock. Never give up when it rolls back down. Roll with it, roll with it, roll with it, roll with it. Sun's coming up, sun's going down. Know if I keep on pushing, I can turn this whole thing around. One step ahead, 2 steps behind. If I just face every day, I'll get back on my feet in time. You got to keep pushing, pushing, pushing a rock. Never give up when it rolls back down. Just roll with it, roll with it, roll. Yeah, you gotta keep pushing a rock. Don't you ever give up. Baby, just roll with it, baby, yeah. I said, baby, baby, just roll.
That is awesome. What a good song.
Thanks.
John Oates, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back again.
Yeah. This is round 2. For those of you who are watching, we filmed an episode a few months back and had a technical nightmare. Lost the audio literally as soon as we hit stop record. the machine was just like, nope, gone. So I really appreciate you coming back.
I felt like I was at my most profound that day.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff you said on that last episode, it can never be recreated. It was you unlocked the secrets of the universe.
I doubt it. I seriously doubt it, but I'm glad to be back anyway.
Thank you for coming back. Thanks for being graceful there. What's the story of this song?
A lot of people always ask, are there any songs that you may have recorded that you wanted to redo? And I almost invariably say no, because I feel like when you record something, it's a moment in time. It's capturing, the not only the energy of the recording session, but it has to do with the engineers, the people, the players, everything about it. It's a moment, it's really a time capsule of that particular moment. This song, I came up with the idea of this song when one of my first friends here in Nashville was Nathan Chapman. Now, if you know about Taylor Swift, you know about Nathan Chapman, because Nathan was responsible for really getting her started and doing her first few albums, obviously multiple Grammys, and the rocket ship, this Taylor Swift rocket ship took off from there. But at the time, in 2014, Taylor was starting to work with other producers, and so I gave Nathan a call and I said, "Hey man, what are you up to?" And he said, "I don't know." He says, "I don't know what my next creative move is going to be," and so I started thinking about that, and I started thinking about struggle and about overcoming things, which was something that I was actually going through at the time as well in my own personal version. And I thought it would be something he might relate to. So I came up with that idea of Sisyphus pushing the rock uphill, and never, overcoming something, an obstacle that was, something that you just, felt that was insurmountable, I guess. And I went over, we wrote a song, we wrote this song, and I put it out on an album called Good Road to Follow. I know this is a long-winded story, but I felt I let the side down a little bit. I thought that the song and the lyrics in particular were really good. I don't think my musical production was very good on that particular day. So flash forward to the pandemic, and I was kind of had a lot of time in my hands. I was reviewing a lot of older song ideas, going through my archives and things, and I listened to it again. And for what was happening in the world and with my life in particular during the pandemic, I thought the lyrics were even more on the money. And I thought the music could be better, the track could be better. So I called Nathan up and I said, "Hey, Nathan, I'd like to have another shot at our song." And he just laughed, and said, "Yeah, man, go for it." And so I did. I rewrote the music basically and kept the lyrics almost intact.
You rewrote the chords and
the chords, the melody, the approach. Some of it was the same, but a lot of it was different. I called him up and I played him a demo of it, and he laughed and he said, "That's how it should have sounded. That's how it always should have sounded." So that was it was nice. So I re-recorded it again and put it out. I think in 22 or 23. And in this form that I kind of just played it. But it's funny, songs just keep evolving. Like, I've never played this song with that intro before. It's something I just thought it needed a little preamble of sorts. So that's just the beauty of songs. They just they have a life, as they exist at the moment, but they can evolve.
This podcast is really a labor of love, and the function is really to share the incredible stories and inspiration to help you along your journey as a musician. If you want to help the show, one of the best ways that you can do it is to click the subscribe button below, leave us a comment, or leave us a like. That helps tell YouTube to spread this to more people like you. Additionally, we've been thinking about cool ways that we can add more value to our community here. And our nerdy team over here has come up with a really cool new software tool for you. Basically, it's a slow down and looping tool for all of the platforms that you learn guitar on. It lives in your browser on top of YouTube and Instagram, and it allows you to slow things down, loop different sections so you can really focus and learn things from all of these videos. It's a super cool tool. I use it every single day myself, and we want to give it to you as the viewer for free. So all you need to do is click the link below, register for that, install it on your computer, and that is our gift to you. So with that, we'll get back into the episode.
I'm sure too, as you're performing these songs, like especially the songs throughout your whole career, I'm sure the way that you play it now is so different from the first time you played it live.
Yeah,
or
they get better when you play them live.
Yeah.
You know, I think one thing I've learned over the years is that the best way to make a record, make an album or whatever, is to play the songs live first and then take that energy into the studio.
Yeah.
And there's something very, very special about that.
Yeah, that's kind of funny that it doesn't go the other way around. Like people release a record and they go tour it.
In the old days, it would always go that way. You know, you'd write, you'd record, and then you go on tour and you'd play your new songs.
Yeah.
But you know, with the luxury I have now of not having a timetable or having my own timetable, I've been doing that lately. I've been playing all new songs for people, and you know, you get an immediate response. You know whether it's connecting. You know how it's connecting. You see you feel the response from people, especially when they don't know a song, when the song's brand new. So, yeah, it's great. And then if you can carry that energy right into the studio, I think there's some magic there.
You've been obviously a prolific artist for decades and decades. Do you have any songs that you've written that you never released that you think maybe ought to be released in the wild?
No.
That are special to you? No.
No. Usually, if it
it's a good one.
If it doesn't make it, it's it's got to make it past my my own personal criteria for whatever that might be at the moment. No, I don't think so. I've had some. No, and especially lately here in Nashville, ever since I started recording in Nashville, there's a magic here. I've had such an incredibly inspired experience. The players and the level of professionalism here in Nashville in the studio is on such a high level that it feels like if the song is good, everything is just going to be better. And it's been great. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a day where I've gone in and cut something and said, oh man, maybe a little bit, cut something and just, let's try that again, another day with maybe another ensemble, another group of players. But very rarely, it just seemed, I think one of the secrets is picking the right moment, the right studio, the right engineers, the right players for that particular song's moment. And in fact, Vince Gill said to me a long time ago, he said when you're producing here, it's like being a director in a movie. You cast the players.
That's right. Yeah.
And because there's a million great guitar players, drummers, bass players, whatever. But after you've lived here for a while, you develop your virtual Rolodex, so to speak, and you know who to call for that moment, that musical moment. And that's really it's a luxury that any creative person would just it's the ultimate.
Yeah. Can you talk about the decision to move here and what was your entry point into Nashville?
My entry point into Nashville was in the 90s. Daryl and I weren't really touring very much. We only made one album in the mid 90s, and so I had a lot of time, and I was living in Colorado and really not doing a lot musically, and I was getting the itch. And I got a call to produce an artist named Jerry Lynn Williams, very kind of obscure artist, but very well known for a lot of the songs that he wrote for Eric Clapton and Fleetwood Mac and other people. We were recording. He wanted to record at his house in Oklahoma, that he had a little home studio at, and his publisher was a Nashville-based publisher, and we got to know each other. And he said, "You really need to come to Nashville." And I said, "Oh, I'll give it a try." So I came, and I thought I was going to be writing country songs, and I found out very quickly I had no clue on how to do that, which was okay.
You got way too many chords.
Well, yeah.
They don't do that in the country.
Well, I have too many chords in general, probably to my detriment. But so anyway, I started. What I realized early on was it wasn't country where I could find a home here. It was in the kind of the new Americana movement that was happening. And I got involved in that very early on. And, we were just talking earlier about you had done an interview with the great Sam Bush. And he became one of my first, kind of friends and an entree into the world of Americana. And I met through him, I met Jerry Douglas and Bela Fleck and then, Jim Lauderdale and the hits just kept coming. And what I realized was it wasn't country music that I could, kind of latch on to here in Nashville. It was it was this roots American roots music in its many forms. Because before I met Daryl Hall, that's what I was doing. I was playing blues, I was playing folk music. I know a lot of traditional folk. I have a kind of a pretty extensive background and history on American American traditional music. And all of a sudden I met people like Sam and Jerry and all these other people who had the same real roots. And so we had a lot in common. And I realized, it took me a while, but I realized that was the key for me to find out who I could be as an individual, as a solo artist. Because my entire adult life was wrapped up in the Hall & Oates experience. I had a role that I played. I was part of a collaborative, a team with Daryl and the various bands that we had. But there was a whole other side of me that I never got to express. And it was through meeting the great players and folks here in Nashville in the Americana world that opened up a whole new world for me. And what I realized was I could go back to my early musical DNA to go forward. And that would be the springboard that I could take to create new music that would still be rooted in this great American music tradition.
Yeah, I noticed that in my research for this interview and the last one, Reunion is aptly named because you spent your whole career doing this like soul stuff, but really where you started was in this Americana folk blues world, and the last two records have been very much in that style that you started with.
Arkansas in particular, and Reunion.
Yeah.
And I think Reunion is probably the ultimate expression of that for me. I really feel like I nailed it on that one. There were a lot of songs on the Reunion album that I dug from the archives that were older songs that I had never recorded, that I never had the right place for them. Yeah. Never the right, sonic family that they could go into. I'm really proud of that record. And here again on that record, and I've got people like Sam and Jerry and, Sierra Hull and just this amazing, Guthrie Trapp, so many amazing players and co-writes with people like Jim Lauderdale. So it really was a full circle moment to do that album.
And what's cool too is recently there was a track that came out with you and Lawrence, which is kind of a throwback to the Hall & Oates vibe.
Yes, very much so.
But through this new lens. Can you talk about what that collaboration was like?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you picked up on that. After having done Reunion, which was so acoustic and really organic and very, very natural type of record, not a lot of production elements and things like that, I started, I don't know what happened was, I think it was, I can't remember if it was the chicken or the egg here on this one, but I was in Colorado sitting in my living room, and a friend of mine, actually the guy who is my booking agent, Josh, he turned me on to this band called Lawrence. And I had never heard of them. I started watching them on YouTube, and I was blown away with, their musicality, the songwriting, Gracie's incredible vocals, and Clyde's unbelievable musicianship. I started listening to them, and I started getting turned on to this vibe that they had going, and it was a joyous, free, youthful thing that I felt like, gosh, I felt like a musical vampire. I want to tap into that. Whatever.
It's also
that
a throwback, right?
Yeah,
they're harkening back to you guys.
It's a throwback, but it was modern. It had all these great elements, and so I said, geez, I want to write a song that sounds like them.
Yeah.
I kind of gave myself a bit of a challenge, and so I came up with and it just felt like them. And then so I wrote the whole song, and I was like, wow, this is cool. It had a whole new vibe. It was energetic. It had a groove. And then I had the second verse, and it was terrible. I had this awful second verse, and I said, oh, that's not going to cut it. And so I went back and I said, wait a minute. And I realized there was a song, they had a song called Don't Lose Sight. And I realized that what they were talking about in their song was exactly what I was talking about in my new song that I was just writing called Enough Is Enough. But it was their take on, it was through their lens, And I said, wait a minute. So I took some words from their song and I crafted them into a second verse for my new song. And then I said, well, I'm not going to be one of those assholes that steals someone's song.
Yeah.
So I said, how am I going to deal with this? So I said, best thing to do is record it and then send it to them and see what happens. Because we had never met.
They
and
probably freaked out.
I thought, well, they're either going to hate it or they're going to like it or they're indifferent, who knows? And so that's what I did. I recorded the whole song here in Nashville and sent it to them. And I said, look, guys, I hope you don't mind, but you'll notice that I used part of your song, Don't Lose Sight, in this new one. And I'm happy to share the publishing, the writing, whatever you guys want. I want to be friends. Let's put it that way. Let's be musical friends.
Yeah. And
they loved it. And they really liked it, and they jumped on board, and they said they wanted to collaborate. And so what we ended up doing is we went to New York, and here again, this is another cool thing, is that we went to the new Hit Factory, which was a place where Daryl and I recorded back in the 70s and 80s. Wow. So it was my first time recording back in New York in years and years and years. So to have like a New York-based band, Lawrence is a New York-based band, to have them in a New York studio that I used to record in, it was a really cool vibe. And Clyde redid the keyboards, and we all sang harmony, and Gracie and Clyde put some vocal parts on it, and we released it as a single, and I loved it, and people seem to really like that tune. So
man, that's the craziest story. It's so full circle, because I imagine when they're writing songs, they're like, how do we get that like Hall & Oates vibe? And then it's just like the echo chamber of like
exactly. Well,
but
that's the beauty of music in general, is that we all musicals, especially songwriters, we're creating on the backs of those who came before us. That's what it's about.
Or those who came after.
Yeah, you never know, right?
It's so awesome.
Yeah,
what a special thing. I'm curious how your musicianship changed, going back to sort of the Nashville conversation. When you came here, obviously you've got like the titans of instrumental music, especially here in the city. What was your experience in running into that, and how has your musicianship changed or developed since you've been here in the city?
Well, this is not a diss at all, but having done the Hall & Oates show for 50 years in various incarnations, I was sleepwalking, to be honest with you. I was musically sleepwalking. And I needed a kick in the ass, and I needed to be re-inspired. And that's what Nashville did for me. One of the first things I realized when I came here, especially when I started doing some early demo sessions, was the level of musicianship was on such a high level. The bar was set way, way up here, and I felt like I was floating around in the middle somewhere. And I felt like my name was going to get me to hang at the party, but I wasn't going to hang very long if I couldn't hang, so to speak. I know it sounds kind of stupid, but anyway. And so here again, I'll go back to Jerry and Sam and all these great players, and the Tom Bukovacs, the Guthrie Trapps. I realized very early on that I better raise my game, and I practiced like hell. I woodshedded like crazy, and really took care with. I began to devote more time to the quality of my instruments, to how they were playing, all the things that make a musician, that are important to a musician, that I was really just kind of coasting along. I had roadies setting up my guitar. I had people handing me stuff. Here, play this. Yeah, sure, that sounds good. Yeah, it feels all right. I'll do it. But then all of a sudden, I was at the guitar shops. I was making sure my guitars were set up properly. I was experimenting with sounds, with amps, with all sorts of things. And so that's really what Nashville did for me. It caused me to raise my game, and best thing that ever happened, really.
Yeah. Do you remember what your learning process was like in the early days? I read somewhere that you had a teacher in New York. Can you talk a little bit about your learning process on the instrument?
Yeah, well, I was a child, a musician from childhood. I have a recording of me singing a nursery rhymes and an Elvis song in a phonograph booth in Coney Island when I was like 4 and 5 and 6 years old. I sang at a very early age. I took vocal lessons. I started playing guitar at 6. I had some early lessons, but I abandoned those pretty quickly, and I was self-taught. up until I got into college. And I had a really good fortune of when I went to Temple University as a freshman. I needed a job to, for just to make ends meet, and there was a there was a place called Esther Halpern's folk studio, and I was pretty aware of various folk styles and things. I could finger pick. I could do some basic things. I knew about some of the early folk players and some of the more contemporary ones like Joan Baez and Dylan, of course, and Dave Van Ronk. And so I walked into this place and I said, "Hey, I would like to be a guitar teacher." And so she said, "Play me something." And I played her a little something, and she said, you can do beginner guitar lessons." So I said, "Okay, sounds good to me." And so she hired me as a teacher. And in the back room, the advanced teacher was a guy named Jerry Ricks, and he was teaching the more advanced students. And I could hear him playing, and I was like, "Oh, I need to know this guy." And he happened to be living very close to where I was living in downtown Center City, Philadelphia, and I became his student, and eventually became his friend, and he was my mentor, and taught me so much about not only technique but really about musicianship. And when the time came when Daryl and I were making our first album in New York, our first two albums at Atlantic Records, I wanted Jerry to play with me on those records. So I asked him to come to New York, and at the time, I know I'm kind of going round and round, but he was involved with Mississippi John Hurt, Doc Watson, and a lot of people who were coming through town to Philadelphia to perform. And when Mississippi John Hurt passed away, his guild guitar that he was given to play Newport Folk Festival in 63 or 64 was given to Jerry. And so Jerry said to me, "Hey, John, you want me to bring the Mississippi John Hurt guitar for the session up in New York?" So on the first two Hall & Oates albums, I'm playing Mississippi John Hurt's Guild F30.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so that's, so if you hear me playing, and not only that, on the acoustic stuff, like on a song like Had I Known You Better Then and some of those other songs, there's two guitar parts, and it's myself and Jerry playing together. But because I was his acolyte, it sounds like one guy. And it's really cool to hear how he was able to complement what I was doing, and his playing lifted my playing, and which is a characteristic I found with all the great players. When you play with great players, they lift your playing. It feels like you can do things that you couldn't do on your own. It's a really great, especially with people like with great drummers, and that if the groove is so locked down that you don't have to think about it, that you can just float on top of it. That's how I judge drummers. I know immediately whether
it's gonna work.
It's somebody I want to work with.
Who do you like to work with now?
Oh, should I know? I'm get in trouble if I leave somebody
Sorry,
out.
you can throw your friends under the bus.
There's so many great drummers. There's so many great players.
Yeah.
Greg Morrow has been playing on my records. Dez, who plays with Mickey Guyton, is playing on the Oates album. I don't know. I'm going to get in trouble now. I shouldn't have started.
Oh, that's cool. I am curious, if you look back at your discography, what were some of your favorite tracks and albums that you released, and what were some that you were like, could have done without it?
Well, I can pinpoint to me, and this is just totally subjective, totally from me, my point of view. I can pinpoint the albums that I think were the critical moments in the Hall & Oates discography, and I think it's Abandoned Luncheonette, which was the second album we made. A lot of people think it was our first, but it was the second. It was produced by the great Arif Mardin, one of the greatest producers of all time, and from that session with Arif Mardin, I learned how to produce records. In fact, to this day, I always say that when I put a session together here in Nashville, I put it together exactly the way Arif Mardin put our Abandoned Luncheonette sessions together. He surrounded Daryl and I with the cream of the crop of New York studio musicians at the time, the great Bernard Purdy on drums, and all sorts of amazing musicians. And he let us, kind of have our our head. He kind of let us go until we went too far, and then he would always joke. He was from Turkey, so he had this very heavy accent, and he would go, "Now I put on my producer's cap," which meant we had to shut up and listen to him. But he was the best. And so the Band and Luncheonette album, I think, was critical. And then I think that, there was some good albums in the 70s, but the key was the Voices album in 1980 or 81, because that was the first album that Daryl and I produced ourselves. And that was the key that allowed us to have this incredible run in the 80s, because we finally made the kind of record we wanted to make, how we wanted to make it. And even more importantly, throughout the 70s, we were trying to develop a live band that we could tour with and also take into the studio, which became this amazing 80s band that we developed. Prior to that, we were always using studio musicians, which was great. But there's here again, I think this goes back to what I was talking about earlier about bringing the live energy of performing live into the studio. And that's what we did in the 80s. So the Voices album was the beginning of that. And then I think at the middle 80s, we did an album called Big Bam Boom, which was a very interesting record and very critical record, because it was the end of the analog era and the beginning of the digital era. And because we were so popular, we were presented and given all these amazingly new digital technology, polyphonic synthesizers, which was something new, sampling, which was new, and of course we were at the top of the world commercially, so we had the wherewithal to stay in the studio and experiment and do all sorts of things. And so the Big Bam Boom album is this really interesting album where it's a blending for the first time, at least for Hall & Oates, of the analog world to the digital world. And that was the beginning of that. So after that, Daryl and I made a few albums in the late 80s and one in the 90s and one in the early 2000s, but I think they're fairly inconsequential as far as I'm concerned. The real meat and potatoes is what happened between 1970 and 1986.
Okay, I have a hypothetical question for you.
Go for it.
It's 1975, and you have all of your wisdom that you have now and all of the lessons, and you meet a young John Oates.
Oh boy!
What do you tell him?
I'll tell him. You know what? I will quote. I'm going to quote an actor who should remain unnamed, when he was asked what his best advice for a young actor would be, and his advice was, "Get a good lawyer." So we should leave it there?
Fair.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Do you have any other advice outside of the legal realm that for a developing artist or someone like yourself who's about to have this meteoric rise and an amazing career? What do you recommend from a life perspective?
Well, understanding, all kidding aside about the lawyer, which is actually a very good advice.
Yeah, that's great advice.
But understanding, learning about the music business. I didn't know anything about how the actual details of the music business worked. And what little I knew, I ignored or didn't really think it was important. That was a huge mistake. Understanding publishing, the intricacies, and it's a Byzantine, business. Publishing is so complicated, and what I've found through working with a lot of younger artists now, I found that they're much more savvy, which is great, about that side of the business, about ownership, IP, things like that. The concept of IP wasn't even thought about for me back in the 70s and 80s. I didn't know what my value might be someday, because of course I didn't know if I'd ever be successful, so it didn't really matter. I was more concerned with the basics, writing the best song I could, making a great record, getting in the van and going on tour, playing shows, hanging out. It was all about that. And so I was a little foolish and naive, of course. So that's what I would say. I would say it's important to really understand as much as you can, and especially now, because for the new artists, the business has changed so radically. It's so different. And there's so many different things to consider, with streaming and, and all these other things that are going on, the digital world, what the digital world hath wrought. So I don't know. I think that's what I would have told myself, really.
Yeah. I'm also
Too
curious.
late now, buddy.
I am curious. Have you stayed sort of in the loop on all this crazy stuff that's happening with AI and Suno? And what are your thoughts on this?
I'll just tell you my firsthand experience.
Yeah.
I just wrote a song with a really cool guy named Kenny Foster, who's pretty great country songwriter. I kind of a Music Row kind of guy, and that's not a diss at all. Just he's in that world and I'm not. We met at a really cool event for veterans, and I just thought he was great. I loved his guitar playing, loved his vocal, and he and I said, hey, let's write a song together, which is what happens in Nashville, so went to his little songwriting studio on Music Row, and we wrote a song. I thought it was pretty cool. It took a few hours, and it was great. And so when we were done, we said, let's do a quick guitar demo into voicemail, So we pulled out our iPhones and hit the voicemail app, and he and I both played guitar. He sang. And we went through the song, and it was pretty good. And so I thought we were done. And I said, in my mind, in my old school mind, it was like, okay, next step would be, let's book a studio. I'll book some great players, and we'll go in and we'll make a demo, which is, the old school way of thinking. And he said, and so I said, hey, we should make a demo. He goes, yeah, let's do it right now. And I said, what do you mean? And I'm a babe in the woods now here, and he said, "Oh, we'll use Suno." And I'm like, "What's that?" I had never even heard the word.
Mind blown.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
About to be mind blown, right? So he said, "Let's go." So he input our little guitar demo into the app, and then he put the phone up in front of me. He said, "Tell what you want it to sound like." And so here's was exactly what I said. I said, "Well, I've always loved the band." And kind of acoustic R&B with some great background vocals, dry drums. That was it. That's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
And a minute later, it spit out this demo that my jaw dropped to the floor. I was like, holy shit. I said, we're done. We're done. It's over. And what the first thing that went through my mind was, there's a recording studio that just lost a session. There's 4 or 5 players that just lost a gig. And I'm thinking, I was trying to wrap my brain around it. But at the same time, the demo was really good. And here's the part that was really crazy. So I wrote most of the chords in the song, and I was using all my little tricky, suspensions and minor nines and all that stuff. And there was one moment in the song, it was in the key of A, and where I used an F sharp minor sus, like that, right? Mm-hmm. And at one moment in the song, it changed it to
the dominant,
an F dominant 7. And I was like, shit, that's better. And I was like,
that makes better choices.
I was like, damn. I said, you know what? If I would have lived with this demo for a day or two, I bet I would have come up with the same thing. I was like patting myself on the back, right?
Yeah.
Probably not, maybe. But it was the perfect change at the perfect moment in the song.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man,
yeah, what's
going to happen next? So that's my experience. I don't know. I am not a prognosticator. I cannot tell you what's going to happen.
Yeah. It's confronting. It's this feeling of, I'm all powerful and I'm completely useless now. It's such a weird experience where you're just like, oh my God, I can make whatever I want.
And then I just read what Leflitz wrote about Kenny Greenberg, saying that there was something that he was doing with Kenny Chesney where they did a Suno thing, and then they were going to maybe use it as a jumping off point to do something else, or to use part of. I didn't really get the details of it, but so I guess there's going to be all sorts of ways of working with it, and every artist will have a different take. What my real objection would be, the person or persons who just sits there in their phone and says, Katy Perry meets Miley Cyrus, big drums from the 80s and lots of ambient cool synths.
Yeah.
And then it writes a song for them, and then they turn it in as their own original work. That bothers me.
Right.
To big time.
Yeah.
But now think about this. Here's another thing that popped into my little brain. Most pop songs, how many writers are in most contemporary pop songs?
A lot.
6, 8, 10. Okay, so what is AI? AI is a collection and an amalgamation of knowledge collected from many, many sources.
All sources.
All sources.
Yeah.
What is a writing session with 10 writers?
Same. Yeah.
It's a collection of their musical inspiration, knowledge, background, skill sets, an amalgamation of that, which makes this pop song.
Yeah.
So how far off is a 10-writer pop song from a song that's written by AI?
The difference is no one gets the publishing and the writing credit.
Well, we haven't. We're not even talking about the business side.
Yeah.
I'm trying to stay on the creative high road.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate collaboration.
It's the ultimate collaboration.
Yeah.
What I'm even more worried about it that a generation will. The new generations that are coming of music lovers, because there's always going to be music lovers, who won't be able to tell the difference and won't care.
They won't care. Yeah.
And won't care. That's sad.
Give it another year and it'll be indistinguishable.
Yeah. Give it another year. Give it another 24 hours at this point. Things are accelerating at such mind-blowing speed.
Yeah.
Damn, I'm glad. Glad I'm old.
You like live looping. Last time you had like a little live looper thing, didn't you?
I have a little I have a looper that I don't use as a looper. I use it as a freeze pedal, like a sustainer.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah. One interesting use case for it that I found. My background's in engineering. I built this thing that's like a live looper setup, and then you push a button and it runs it through Suno and comes back, and it's basically the combination. Well, what's also cool about it is it has like this app that people can scan with a QR code and choose a vibe. They can choose like a prompt basically. So it sort of crowdsources a prompt, blends it with my live loop, and then it comes back with this track that's like, mixed and beautiful in real time. And then you can kind of crossfade from the live loop into this Suno thing, and then you can make the next thing. So I say that because it opens up this window of opportunity for new forms of creativity. This isn't just like, make me a song about a cat and then you're like, I made this. Right. It's actually, if leveraged correctly, I think it opens up possibilities.
You're 100% right. The new generation of creatives will find a way to blend. It's kind of like the android concept of humans. Is it going to be part human, part robot? Yeah. I mean, I'm not putting anything down. It's just that I think I'm comfortable in my space, in my place, and that's okay.
Yeah. The problematic side is that these models were trained without properly compensating artists. Yeah.
Compensation is huge, and how that's going to be handled by the business is also going to be fraught with all sorts of, possibilities that can be positive and negative. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, crazy time to be living in.
Yes.
I'm curious for you. You've come off the back of releasing an album a year for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Where are you at in your career? You've done so much stuff. Can you talk about kind of what's next for you and where you're heading?
Yeah. I think first thing I know is that I don't really want to tour in the conventional sense of touring, picking, 20, 30 dates and then getting on a bus or a plane and going around city. Those days are kind of behind me. I enjoy being home. I enjoy being with my wife. I enjoy things outside of music. So I want to be able to, enjoy that while I still have, I can still walk, I can still talk, I can still think, I can still play. But I still want to be creative, and I'm always up for writing, which is, to me, is something that unless my brain goes away, I'll still be able to do it. And I want to still play, but I want to be very selective. I want to do really unique. I'm looking for unique opportunities, things that are, not that traditional grind of going and living in hotels, playing in unique places and having unique experiences. And so that's on my bucket list and agenda if there's anything left.
Yeah. What you have a wish list? What any dreams of experiences or places you want to play?
No, I mean, I'm playing a few new places coming up, which will be nice. I'm playing places that I played, in the past. No, it's nothing in particular. I think I'm going to take it as it comes. I've noticed that now with, my Instagram profile, John Oates Official.
There you go. Here's the plug.
DM me, babe.
Yeah.
You see how modern I am?
Yeah, that's very. I was going to say.
I just want to make sure
you're practically a Gen Z.
Oh yeah, practically, impractically. But I just, now on my Instagram, I just get all these cool requests. Some of them are suck, and some of them are great, which is great. I'm able to pick and choose from a distance, which is nice, and that's fun, and. So I enjoy the social media aspect. I've got a great social media person who helps me, and I call her my second wife because my wife and her they gang up on me.
Yeah.
But they got me kicking, and they're bringing me kicking and screaming into the modern world, but not so much kicking and screaming. But
yeah.
So that's fun.
What is your relationship to that, to social media in general?
It's been really great for me for my solo work. It's really I've been able to carve out my personality from the the 300-pound gorilla that is Hall & Oates, and which is it took me a while, and it's been something I've been very diligent about working on to really make sure that hopefully if anyone cares, they'll know who I really am as a person and not as part of a collective.
What do you hope people understand about you?
Well, I'm a born musician. That's all I've ever done in my life. I'm blessed. I'm lucky. I've never had another job. The closest thing I've ever had to a job was teaching guitar lessons. I don't think a lot of people can say that they've done what they've loved their entire life, and it's really something I do not take for granted. I'm very, very aware of it, and I'm also want to make sure that I do the best I can, because that's a unique thing to be able to say that you've had that luxury of your whole life, and to waste it and squander it by not doing the best you can and devoting your energy to upholding that kind of standard, I think would really be a sin, So that's what I want people to know about me. I try to treat people well, and I'm a people person. I love being around people, and I love the fact that living in Nashville, I can walk around and do whatever I want, and no one seems to care. It's wonderful, and every once in a while, someone gives me a good table at a restaurant. That's a good perk. I'll take that.
Switching gears a little bit, you have a lot of hobbies,
Yeah.
as I've read.
Yes.
Cars and skiing and biking and all of these things.
Yeah.
How does that fit into your life now?
I've always been very athletic, and I've always been very outdoorsy. I've lived in Colorado for over 30 years, lived the mountain lifestyle, which was really the best thing, one of the greatest things that ever happened in my life. I met my wife there. We had a kid. We built a house. And I was treated like, just, put on a helmet and a goggles, and you're just one of the people on the mountain, And I've been riding mountain bikes since the beginning of the mountain bike in the 80s. Gary Fisher actually built one of the earliest titanium mountain bikes for myself and Bob Weir when we did a 200-mile mountain bike trip through the Montana National Forest.
You did a trip with Bob Weir?
Yeah, to highlight clear cutting. And
wait a second. You got to tell us the story. What is this story?
Oh, yeah.
Timely as well.
With Bob passing away, it was so sad, and what an amazing person. Bob Bob and I met through an environmental group that I was part of, friends with some people in Montana. There was a big issue with clear cutting in the wilderness, in the national forest up there. And so Gary Fisher, who's one of the earliest inventors of the mountain bike, he was involved, and he built Bob and I custom titanium mountain bikes. And we did a 200-mile ride, and that was how I met Bob. And then Daryl and I jammed with the Dead at Madison Square Garden for the Rainforest Benefit and things like that. And over the years, I've had a chance to play with Bob, at Sweetwater at his club, and I got a chance to do a few songs with him at the Ryman more recently. So yeah, I mean, I've been a biker ever since. And as we were talking about earlier, and now that I'm getting up there a little bit, I've transitioned to the world of e-bikes, and the wonderful world of e-bikes. And I am a total in. I love my e-bikes, and it's gotten me back on the bike. It's gotten me been able to ride the same rides that I rode 20, 30 years ago, which I had kind of not been doing.
It's a road bike.
I have a road bike and a mountain bike.
Oh, you got both?
Both e-bikes, yeah.
Great.
And I'll tell you a quick e-bike story.
Let's hear it.
And bore everybody out
I
there.
love it.
Oh, just you can go get some food out of the fridge here for a minute. So I got my first mountain e-bike, and I thought, and I live in Colorado. I live on a road that's 6 miles from the wilderness and the national forest. Yeah. And it's a 6-mile climb, gentle climb, but a climb nonetheless at 7,000 to 10,000, 8,000 feet. So I said, well, there's only one way to test this bike out. I'm going to do a ride that I used to do 25 years ago. Yeah. And it's a ride up the 6-mile climb to where the dirt road starts, and then up to Larkspur Mountain, which is about almost 11,000 feet. Yeah, it's a good climb. And so I said, well, we'll see what happens. So I rode up the 6 miles, got to the dirt road, and well, got plenty of battery left. Let's see what happens. I went up the mountain, up to the top of Larkspur Mountain, and I went, okay. I said,
I'm sold.
I'm sold, baby. I am back. I am so back. Yeah. And I saw a moose on the way down, which was awesome.
Wow.
And I said, okay, I'm back.
Yeah.
I got my bike. And then, of course, that led to me getting an e-road bike, which now best thing ever. So I love exercising. I was a wrestler when I was in high school. And I like being fit. I do yoga. I started yoga during the pandemic. Okay. And I used to scoff at yoga. I used to be, Sting and his yoga thing. Right? No, I love Sting. There's no diss to Sting. But he was right. Yeah. During the pandemic, I was bored. So I opened up my iPad, found a yoga instructor, started doing yoga. And I've been doing it ever since. I do it every day.
No kidding.
And it's the best thing that ever happened. Keeps me flexible, keeps me able to move. And I'm totally in on that as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You were into cars for a long time too.
I still am.
You got any good car stories or?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's hear that.
Well, I always loved cars. And funny story, when I convinced my parents to buy a Pontiac GTO in 1968 because I told them it was just like a Tempest, which was kind of the vanilla version of a GTO. And so then a few years later, about in 72, when Daryl and I first started going on tour, we bought the car from my parents, and then we went on tour in a 68 Pontiac GTO, which is pretty cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we drove all over the East Coast from Florida to Maine. So that was kind of cool. And then I've just loved cars, and I love little sports cars. When I first started making money, I bought in 1977, I bought a Porsche 930 Turbo, which was the be-all and end-all of supercars at that time. Yeah. And that was it. I was hooked on Porsches. And when I was a little kid, there was a Volkswagen Porsche dealer not far from where we lived, and my dad would always take me by to look at the funny little sports cars. So I've been a Porsche fanatic and fan ever since. I have a few that I drive. I love to drive on the country roads in Nashville, especially out in in Franklin, Leapers Fork, and that whole area out there, and just take a cruise. I go by myself most of the time, and just zone out and enjoy the experience.
That's so awesome. Did you race for a little while too?
I did. I raced amateur and professionally. Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, I started out racing go-karts on Long Island in the Hamptons in the 70s. And then I transitioned. I went to a driver's school. I went to a driver's school in England, in London, at Brands Hatch. And I learned to drive Formula Fords. And then I started racing amateur Formula Fords for the SCCA, Sports Car Club of America. And then I transitioned to a Sports 2000 car, which is a full-bodied sports racing car. And I did the Pro Series with them, and then I did IMSA, which is International Motorsports Association, long distance racing, endurance racing. I raced at Daytona.
Endurance racing?
Endurance racing, like 24-hour races, long distance races with a co-driver. Wow. I did that for a while, and then I had a pretty bad accident at Elkhart Lake in Wisconsin, Road America, and woke up in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, and thought to myself, even though my brain was scrambled, I thought, maybe it's time to focus on strumming my banjo there, John. And because I was doing okay, but I wasn't giving it a professional effort, and I was racing against professional race drivers in a professional series, and it wasn't right. I'd be in the studio on a Friday, I'd jump on a plane, fly to Wisconsin or Ohio or wherever it was, and the next day I'd qualify, practice, race, and then fly home and go right back in the studio or whatever. So it just wasn't the right thing to do. I was sensible enough to stop when I did, but I still love driving, and still have a lot of friends in the motorsports world, love to hang out, and I go to events and things like that.
I don't know anything about race car driving. When you go to race car driver school and drive, what's like the 10-second most important things that you learn when you're going to driving school that people don't learn when they're just like a normal,
It's something
driver?
that every driver should learn. It's your eyes. You have to constantly be moving your eyes. If you're looking at what's in front of you, it's too late. The moment you have to move your eyes, and one of my best driving instructors had me, and he would actually sit next to me watching my eyes, and he could tell where I was looking, and he would constantly say, move your eyes, keep moving. And you'd look, and you'd go through a corner, and then the moment when you're in that corner, if you're looking at that corner, what's the point? You're already there. You have to immediately be looking at the next place where you're going to be. And it's a constant moving. And even driving on the road, and Nashville is a scary place to drive. There's some really bad drivers here. And the speed limit is a mere suggestion as far as I'm concerned, which I'm okay with because I do drive fast. I'm okay with that. But I would really not want to be a teenage driver in Nashville.
Yeah.
Learning how to drive, very, very scary. No one uses their turn signal, and plus the way the road, we shouldn't go on this rant. I mean, where are we going with this? I thought this was a music show.
It's whatever, okay, right, I like it. Right. It's whatever I want.
Anyway, just be careful out there, kids.
Yeah, okay.
Keep your eyes moving. Use your turn signal. Don't follow me.
We had Dan Tominski on. You know Dan?
Yeah.
And I learned that he is a world-class foosball player, like competitive.
Really?
Yeah, he's incredible at it. And it's this funny thread of anyone who does something at a really high level, musicians who have been successful, turns out they've got all these like weird side paths that because they're just obsessive people.
Yeah.
And,
they want to be good at things.
They want to be good, and they've gotten good at the process of getting good at things.
Right.
So they're very good learners.
Right.
And do you have any other rabbit holes that you've been going down recently?
No, it's the driving and the hiking and the biking is more than enough for me.
That's super cool. What's next for you outside of the tour?
Well, I'm going to play a show here in Nashville if any of you want to come see my new band at 3rd and Lindsley on February 19th, which is going to be awesome. It's kind of our warm-up show for the tour, and we're going to be playing all kinds of stuff. One of the things that I've started doing, which I'm really enjoying in the live show, is I do a portion of the show which I like to call the songs that made me. Yeah. And I like to pay tribute to the songs that I liked as a kid growing up. I did it when I did my acoustic show. Of course, I would dig back to the Mississippi John Hurt and Jock Watson type stuff. But with the electric band, I'm doing stuff by Curtis Mayfield. I'm doing, let's see, some Alan Toussaint songs, stuff that was influential to me. I like to, and I think what it does is it allows people to see where I was, what informed me, and what informs me today, and how that translates to the newer music and the newer songs. I just got asked to do a benefit show at Basement East next week for it's the Traveling Wilbury tribute thing that they do.
Yeah.
So I decided to do an ELO song. I'm doing Showdown, and I had never played Showdown before. And as soon as I started learning it, I said, "Wait a minute, this is Jeff Lynne's version of I Heard It Through the Grapevine." I knew immediately, And so I said, "Oh, well, this is great." So now that I've taken the time to learn Showdown, when I do the live show, I told our guitar player, who's also a great singer, Seth Cook, I said, "Why don't you sing Heard It Through the Grapevine? We'll make it a medley." So, stuff like that happens, which is cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. You're stuck on a deserted island. What are the records that you bring? Speaking of the songs that made me. Three albums.
I guess my first question would be, does the deserted island have a record player?
Good point. Yeah, they've got a great record player, great sound system.
Great record player.
Yeah.
Solar
records.
Solar powered.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no records. Someone left a great record player, but they forgot the records.
Yeah, it was an audio equipment freight vehicle that crash landed on an island.
You sure you thought this through? Huh?
I did. I have papers, John.
Okay.
I've prepared for this interview.
All right. I'd bring 2 albums. I could name 1,000.
Yeah.
Joni Mitchell Blue,
yeah.
the most perfect record ever made.
It is.
From the music, the production, the performance, to even the album cover. The band, the Brown album, The Band, one of the greatest records ever made. James Brown live at the Apollo.
Yeah.
There's just so many. That's fine.
Yeah. So good. Well, John, is there anything else that the people need to hear?
No. No one needs to hear anything more about me or my life or the crazy shit I think about. No.
Well, if people want to learn more, John has an incredible book that is a full biopic of his entire life, and it's profoundly great. And I learned a lot personally, both about John and also just life lessons. So I highly recommend it.
Thanks.
And John, thanks for everything. Thanks for everything you've done in your career and for inspiring this generation and then getting re-inspired by that generation.
Yeah. And
I appreciate you carving out some time to chat with us today.
Yeah,
Where can people follow up with the things that you're doing?
My Instagram page, John Oates Official. I've got a website, johnoates.com. I don't think anybody ever goes there, but you can check it out. I think it's there. It probably still exists. I guess I'm on all those Facebook and stuff. I don't look at any of that stuff, but I will. If you really want to find me, you can find me. Great. I'm out there. That's it. I'm just, like I said, I'm available for unique experiences.
Book John for your concert on the moon.
That's right. On the moon.
Yeah. John, I really appreciate your time, man. Thanks a lot. Do you want to play us one more song before we depart here?
Sure. You want to hear another one?
I would love to hear another one.
I'll do a new one. Let's see here. I wrote this with a great Nashville guitarist, songwriter, and all-around awesome guy, Jed Hughes.
He's been on the show. He's great.
Oh, he's the best. Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story how this happened. So I was really trying to work with him. We only met once, very briefly, and I just said, we've got to figure out a way to write together. And he was super busy. He's always super busy. I was busy. And I'd throw out a date, and he'd say, no, I can't make that. And he'd throw out a date, no, I can't make it. And this kept going on. It became kind of like a joke. So I said to him, you know what, let's just pick a date so far out in advance that neither of us can say no. And then I said, something that's really a ways away. And as soon as I said it, I was on the phone with him. I said, hey, that's a great title for a song. And he went, yeah, let's write that. So we wrote a song called A Ways Away. My hands are cold, though.
It's cold in here. Sorry.
it's hard to stay close enough to me. Talking about the way things used to be. Those heavy mornings just keep coming, they keep coming. We'll cross the finish line, yeah, if we just keep running. Hear the words come flying by, I can't hear a thing you're saying. You and I ain't winning, baby. Why do we keep on playing? 'Cause it's never black or white, it's just a million shades of gray. We're a ways away. We're a ways away, just a ways away. We're a ways away. We're ways away, just a ways away. Let's bring it back into the room. Let's break it down and put us back in tune. Those sweet memories keep coming, they keep coming. We'll cross the finish line, yeah, we just keep running. Maybe time will tell, oh, what will be, will be. I can't imagine there could be an end to you and me. 'Cause it's never black or white, it's just a million shades of gray. We're a ways away, oh yeah. We're ways away, just a ways away. We're ways away. We're ways away, just a ways away. We're ways away. Never thought I'd hear you. Oh, never thought I'd hear you say, baby, just a ways away. Sweet memories keep coming. Sweet memories keep coming, yeah. You and I ain't winning, baby. Why do we keep on playing? Just a ways away. We're a ways away.
John, thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show. And I know we forgot to mention the profound insights from the last episode, but we'll put that on the next episode. So
Okay.
thanks again for coming back.
Thanks, Spencer. I appreciate it.
Yeah.